A lot of founders think winning SBIR is the hard part. It's not, because the award is not the finish line, it's the setup. And if you do not know what happens after phase 2, you end up with validation, tech, and momentum, but no real path to contracts, procurement, or revenue. This is exactly why phase 3 matters so much more now. Hey everyone, I'm Corey, a lawyer helping entrepreneurs decode law, technology, and innovation. And this video is part of our 7-part series on the new SBIR law and what founders need to understand now that the program has been reauthorized and updated. Today we're talking about phase 3 and why the new law makes commercialization and procurement transition even more important than before. Because the smartest founders already know this. The real value of SBIR was never getting the award. The real value is what you can convert that into after the award. So here's what we're covering today. Why phase 3 matters more than most realize, what the new law actually changed, why this is a bigger deal than it sounds, mistakes to avoid, and what serious founders should be doing now to build a real transition path. The real value is never just the award. A lot of founders may still think about SBIR and STTR like grant programs first and commercialization pathways second. That's backwards. Phase 1 and phase 2 can help you prove the tech. They can help you de-risk the concept. They can help you build credibility. But phase 3 is where things start getting commercially real. And this is where the work can turn into procurement traction, follow-on contracts, mission integration, commercial leverage, and eventually real company value. So if your strategy ends at the award, your strategy is incomplete. So what this new law has actually changed? The new law makes several phase 3 related moves that founders should take seriously. First, it requires workforce training for contract officers and acquisition personnel. That training is supposed to cover the purpose of SBIR and STTR, the use of phase 3 agreements, phase 3 data rights, and the execution of phase 3 sole source awards. That might sound technical, but it matters a lot. Because one of the biggest historical bottlenecks has been that not every acquisition professional fully understood how to use phase 3 effectively. Next, the law strengthens the role of procurement center representatives. They're now supposed to advocate for the maximum practical use and transition of products, services, and technologies developed under SBIR or STTR into phase 3. This is a strong signal. Congress here is basically saying, do not let good technologies die after early validation. Push them forward. Third, the law pushes agencies to develop simplified and standardized procedures and model contracts for phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3 SBIR awards. That matters because the path from technical success to real contracting has often been too messy, too slow, or too unclear. So if agencies implement this well, it could make the transition path easier to understand and easier to use. Fourth, the law improves tracking. It updates the SBIR database and procurement systems so the government can better track direct to phase 2 awards, strategic breakthrough awards, phase 3 prime contracts, phase 3 subcontracts, and how later contracts connect back to earlier SBIR or STTR work. That matters because what gets measured tends to get taken more seriously. So why is this a bigger deal than it sounds? Some founders or teams may think, okay, this sounds like internal government process stuff, but that's too shallow because all the points here are leading towards the same direction, that Congress wants the bridge between early innovation and actual deployment to work better. That's the real headline here. This is not just about better bureaucracy, it's about making the post-award path more usable, more visible, more intentional. And for founders that matters because this is where the company story can change. You stop being just a startup with technical validation. You start becoming a startup with credible path to adoption. So why training is going to matter more for founders and founding teams than you may think. Let's pause on the training point for a second because it's easy to underestimate. If the acquisition teams do not understand phase 3, even a strong company with strong technology can get stuck. Not because the tech is bad, not because the mission fit is weak, because the institutional machinery on the other side is unclear or cautious. That is a real problem. So when Congress says acquisition personnel need training for phase 3 use, data rights, and sole source execution, this is an attempt to reduce a real bottleneck. For founders and founding teams, the practical takeaway is very simple here. Phase 3 is becoming more visible inside the procurement system itself. That makes readiness even more valuable. So why simplification here helps, but it doesn't necessarily save you. Okay, yes, simplified procedures and model contracts can help a lot, but You should not misunderstand that. Simplification does not fix a weak company structure. If your company has messy IP ownership, weak data rights discipline, unclear licensing arrangements, no real procurement narrative, or poor diligence materials, you can still get stuck in the procurement process. Standardization helps prepared companies to move faster, but it does not rescue unprepared companies. And that is why legal readiness and commercial readiness still have to move together. Now, this is also a data rights story. Founders should also connect this back to their data rights, because phase 3 is a lot more powerful when your data rights position is clean. If your company properly protected what it developed, that can strengthen your leverage with agencies, contractors, and partners who want access later. Now, if your data handling is sloppy, you may reach the commercialization stage and realize that you weakened one of your best assets. This is why it is not just a contracting story. It is also an intellectual property and leverage story. So what are founder mistakes to avoid here? The biggest founder mistake: treating phase 3 like a later stage problem. That is too late. By the time you're scrambling to answer who is a likely customer, what office might buy this, what contract path makes sense, how were data rights handled, what is the actual transition story, you may already be behind. The better moment to solve those questions is doing the early work, not after the technical milestone is complete. Because phase 3 in this case is not something that you can tack on at the end. It is something you're gonna need to build around from the beginning. If you're serious about this, what should you be doing right this minute? You should be pressure testing your transition narrative. If you win or already have an SBIR or STTR award, can you explain in plain English what the likely post-award path actually is? Who is the real user? Who is the real buyer? What operational needs does this solve? What happens after the prototype? Second, build commercialization planning earlier. Do not separate technical planning from customer planning. If you know this will eventually need procurement traction, mission integration, or a licensing path, you need to start building that logic now. Third, tighten your data rights discipline. Mark properly. Track what was developed under the award. Know what leverage you're preserving, because once phase 3 gets real, access questions get real too. Fourth, clean up the structure around the opportunity. If you have messy ownership, unresolved licensing issues, weak diligence materials, foreign ties concerns, the bigger the transition opportunity gets, the more painful the weak structure becomes. Fifth, pay careful attention to how agencies implement these changes. Congress created the framework. The agencies will determine how real the improved transition path becomes. So founders need to track guidance, model contracts, process changes, and any shifts in how phase 3 is being used in practice. Okay, so what's the strategic takeaway here? The new SBIR law is not just saying the program continues. It is saying that commercialization and procurement transition deserve more attention, more structure, and better support. That's the real founder signal here. The government is not only trying to fund innovation, it's trying to improve what happens after innovation gets funded. And the founders who benefit most will not be the ones who celebrate the award the hardest. They will be the ones who use the award to build leverage, procurement momentum, and a credible path to adoption. So let's recap. The award was never the finish line. The real value comes from what you can convert it into after phase 2. This new law is going to strengthen training, advocacy, simplification, and tracking around phase 3. That could make commercialization and procurement transition more usable, but only if founders build the transition story early. And the earliest companies that win here will be the ones that treat phase 3 as a strategy from day 1, not a problem for later. Join me on the path to decoding law, technology, and innovation to grow your business. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Until next time.